Valley 4-H Club, and I'll be teaching you about the great game of chess. First, I will tell you the names of the pieces and what they can and can't do. The first piece we'll talk about is the pawn. The pawn can move 2 squares on its first move, or it can move 1 square. But from then on, for all of its other moves, the pawn can only move 1 square. And the way the pawn takes other pieces is it can only take diagonally. It cannot take or kill a piece going forward or sideways. It can only go diagonals. And it has to stay on its color. It can't go that and then do that. It has to stay going diagonal. Next piece I will talk about is the rook. The rook can move sideways wherever it wants, forward wherever it wants, and backwards wherever it wants. But it can't go diagonal. Yeah, so it can't go diagonal, but it can go sideways anyway. It can go forward or backwards. It can go anywhere as long as it wants. It can't go forward and then go sideways in one move. It can only go one way in one move. And how it takes a piece or kills a piece is it would land on another piece of square. So let's say I had a pawn. Let's say I had a black pawn right here on the other team. So if I had my rook right here, I could go in the slot and I would take the pawn. The next piece I will talk about is the knight. The knight is also a more complicated piece. How I learned it was gallop, gallop, step to the side. So it can go up to and over 1, or down to and over 1. It doesn't matter, but it always has to go up to and over 1. So how the knight would take out a piece is, let's say black had its pawn right there. You would go gallop, gallop, step to the side, and you would take out the pawn. If the pawn was right here and you were right here, if the pawn was right here, you couldn't go gallop, gallop, step to the side, and take it out in the process. You could only kill a pawn or another piece if it's where you're gonna end up. So that is how the knight works. The next piece I'll talk about is the bishop. The bishop is also a more complicated piece. The bishop can only move diagonal. So it can only move that way, or this way. So it can only move diagonal. So how the bishop would take is, if I had a pawn right there, I would use my bishop, I would go across the diagonal, and I would take the bishop. And the bishop has to land on the square for it to take. So that's how the bishop works. The next piece I will talk about is the queen. The queen is what some people say, or most people, is the best piece in the entire game. Because the queen is basically the rook and the bishop combined. Because the queen can go diagonal, whichever way she wants, for however long she wants. She can go forward and back, or side to side, whichever way she wants, for however long she wants. So that's why most people call the queen the best piece in the game. So, just like I said about the bishop and the rook, how the queen would take was, if you had a pawn right there, the queen would just take it out like that, and you take it out. The king isn't the best piece in the game, but it's the most valuable. Because if you lose your king, you lose. The game is over. So how the king moves is, it can only move 1 square, but it can move 1 square in any direction. So the king could go like this. He could go right there, right there, right there, right there. Just anywhere for 1 square. So he's not the best, but he's the most valuable. Now I will teach you how to play the great game of chess. How to play or beat an opponent in the great game of chess is by taking out their king. So, let's say you had a bishop, just like this, and your king and a black king right there, and a white bishop right there. If it was white's turn and white moved its bishop, so then on the next turn it had, it could kill the king. That's why if a white went into a position like this, white would say check, which means you have to either block, move, or kill. So what block, move, or kill is, so starting off with what block is, you would have to block with a different piece. So if I had a knight right there, I could, if I had a knight right there, I could go gallop, step to the side like that, and I would block it. So now, if the bishop tries to take my king, he cannot. He would take the knight. But then my king would just take the bishop. So that's what block is. Move is pretty simple. You would just move your king out of check, so the bishop cannot get you anymore. So the next one, which is kill, if I had my king right there, and let's say my knight was right there, I would go and I would take the bishop with my knight. So now my king is out of check because I took his bishop. So that is what block, kill, and move is. The next thing I'm going to show you is a stalemate. So let's say you are in a very intense game of chess, and all your pieces on each side got taken out. So then white only had their king, and you only had your king. And it was like this. This is called a stalemate, because your king cannot move into check. So what I'm talking about is if I had a rook right here, my king, let's say my king was also right here, my king could not move right here, because then the rook would just take it out and white would win. That's a rule. So my king is not allowed to do that. So that's why you call this a stalemate, because kings can't kill each other. Because if you try to, white's king is moving into check, because then black can take it. So it's an endless loop. So it really doesn't matter what you do. This is called a stalemate or a tie. So if you're playing professional chess, this will be called a half a point. So that is what a stalemate is. So I know you've been asking the question, how do you actually get a checkmate in chess? I'll tell you how. So let's say this was a very competitive game of chess, and you captured all of white's pieces, but they captured all of your pieces except for your two rooks. This is how you would checkmate someone. How I like to do it is called a ladder checkmate. So let's say their king was right about here. With your rook, you would move it right here. So the king is not in check, but it's right before check. Then he would have to move, so let's say he just moved up. Then you'd use your other rook and move it right here, so now he's in check. And since he can't move this way, and he has no other pieces to block, he would have to move this way. Then you use your other rook, and you say, check. Since he can't move this way, he'll move over here. Then you say check, and then he goes over here. Use your other rook, you say check. He still can't go over here, so he goes here, and you say check. So now there's nowhere else for him to run. This is how you get to a checkmate. And since he's 2 squares away, so he doesn't have enough to take my rook, and if he goes this way, he's still in check, and then he tries to go this way, he's still in check. So that's why this is called a checkmate, because there's nowhere else for him to run, and he is in check right now. So that is what a checkmate is. Some tips and tricks that I learned to how to be better at chess is something called castling. So let me show you what castling is. So let's say on your side, if you're black, and you have your knight right out here. You have this up. This one up too. You have that right there. You had this like that, and then like that, and just like that. So how castling works is with your rook and your king. It can be either rook, it doesn't matter. But how castling works is a little bit more complicated. So for castling to work, your king and your rooks cannot have moved once. So your king couldn't have gone here and then gone back to castle. They have to be in this position, and they have to have stayed in this position. So how you castle is you go like this. You say, I castle. Then you go 2 over, and you take your rook to the other side. That's it. That's how you castle. So it's a little bit complicated, but it's not much. You could do it on either side. You can go 1, 2, and then take your rook to the other side. And if this rook moves, you can still do it with the other rook. And if this rook moves, you can still do it with the other rook. But you can't move your rook, wait for them to move, and then move back and then castle. You can't do that. So that is a trick I learned of how to be better at chess. It's called castling. As we're heading to the end of this video, I just wanted to say why I love chess. The reason I love chess is because I was on a chess team with some of my friends, and it was very fun learning how to play chess. And some of the success that I had from chess was out of our entire chess team, 5 of us got to go to state chess. We had to go against each other. Our group had to go against each other and choose 5 people to go to chess. I was one of the 5 people to go to chess. And the other 3 of them were some of my friends. So me and my friend and another person came and went to state chess. We definitely didn't win out of the hundreds of teams, but we did really good, and it was just really fun. So that is why I love chess. The final thing for this video is I just wanted to say why I think everyone should play chess. I think everyone should play chess because I think it's good for your brain. I think everyone would like it if they tried it because I really like it, and I used to be very bad at chess, and I didn't really like it. And then I started doing chess, and I started to love it, and I love it now. That's why I think everyone should have chess. I think you should just play it every once in a while. I don't know, I just love it. That's why I think everyone should have chess. Thank you.